Hi everybody, I've got Shamis here today with us. He's come up for a visit from Cairns.
Yep.
He runs the High Carb Health.
Yes.
He's a coach.
Yep.
Perhaps you could start by introducing yourself, whatever you want to say about yourself.
So, High Carb Health started in 2014, and it started because back in 2012 in Japan, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called ulcerative colitis. It's kind of like Crohn's disease. It's an inflammatory bowel disease. For 6 weeks I was hospitalized, and this was in Japan out of all places, which is quite a unique place to be in hospital because they don't really speak English, and so it was kind of hard to understand what the doctor was saying, and yeah, that's why for 6 weeks we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I went into hospital with a mild case of colitis. So it was just a mild inflammation in my large intestine. And the next 5 weeks, it became severe, ulcerated, and very inflamed. That was an issue, obviously. So my parents came from New Zealand. I'm actually from New Zealand, by the way. My parents came from New Zealand, and they just didn't know what was going on because they were in shock. I'd lost about 30 kilos in hospital under the doctor's care. And I was in so much pain, I didn't know what was going on. I was going to the bathroom about 40 times a day, bloody diarrhea. It was horrible.
So what was your diet like prior to you being hospitalized?
Yeah, just the standard diet. I mean, I didn't pay attention to nutrition at all. I was eating a lot of fish in Japan. I was teaching English there, so
Okay.
I was there for a year.
Yeah. So when you got hospitalized, it
Yeah.
seemed like things got worse when you were in hospital. So what were they feeding you in hospital?
Yeah, so it was the food and the medicine. So they drugged me up. They
Yeah.
put me on steroids, they put me on antibiotics, they put me on all sorts of things. But the food that they had in hospital was supposedly good for people with digestive issues. And that was half raw egg, fish, and rice, so congee, sort of
Yeah.
like the Japanese style rice. And maybe some miso soup, I think it was.
But you managed to lose 30 kilograms in hospital?
Yeah, because the food obviously wasn't, my body wasn't accepting it, plus the medicine, my body was detoxifying all that,
Yeah.
right? So it was originally trying to heal,
Yes.
and then they just pumped me full of all these more poisons,
Yeah.
and of course the food wasn't the best. And so my body just kept losing weight because I was obviously going so many times to the bathrooms. I was losing a lot of water weight.
That would have been very scary for you.
It was, yeah,
Yeah.
especially because I started to become weak
Yeah.
as well at the same time. So I lost a lot of electrolytes. And so finally, I had to get a private room and stuff because I couldn't go to the toilet because it was so far away. The ward, in the ward, it was quite far to walk to get to the toilet. So I had to get a private room and like 40 times a day in severe pain that I've never experienced before. I was in nappies. My mum was cleaning up after me and stuff, and
Yeah.
it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life.
And had you had any digestive problems prior to that?
No, it did come out of nowhere. Like I said, it was a mild case, so I wasn't like really that bad initially when I first got into hospital, because obviously then when I got into hospital, they didn't actually speak about what was going to happen. So they're like, "Oh, we're just going to keep you here for a week," and I was like, okay, does that mean I need to go back and go get my clothes and like my toothbrush and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
So I basically scooted home and got all my stuff and then came back. So I was well enough to do that.
Yeah.
But by the 5th week, I was like 35 kilos. Couldn't even lift my arm up because I was so weak. It was really bad. And they were putting me on the highest dosage of steroids. So I was on 80 milligrams of steroids, antibiotics, painkillers, and because I couldn't eat anything, well, they wanted to stop the food intake to see if the medicine would work. So they put a catheter in my neck, and they were feeding me through the large vein that's here. And that was another story in itself as well. I was literally dying in front of my parents, and they didn't know what to do. And so it was a miracle that I'm here. But the awesome thing that happened was, because I was in such a poor state, so I did 4 colonoscopies in that time, and the 3rd colonoscopy, they couldn't actually go past my rectum because it was so inflamed. And they actually said that you're going to get megacolon, and if it explodes, you're going to die. That's what the doctor said to me.
I've never even heard of megacolon.
It happens to people because they fed the wrong food and they're pumped full of meds.
Yeah.
So that's when your colon gets way too inflamed and obviously it breaks. And so that was how severe the condition was. And so they said, okay, we're going to have to cut part of your bowel out.
Yeah.
There's no other way we can do this. And, you know, because I was just like, couldn't talk as well. And my mum was like, he's been under your care and how has he gotten so much worse? Like, you have to give me another option. Because my mum she didn't want to do surgery. So they said, okay, well, there's another medication that you can take. And it was an immunosuppressant drug. It was called tacrolimus. And that drug basically suppressed my immune system. It pretty much shut my body down. So it stopped detoxifying. And I got some relief from that. So from about 40 bowel movements a day, it came down to about 25. And then I was able to just function a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then my mum started researching, you know, alternatives because this obviously wasn't working. Luckily, you know, we didn't have to do surgery because then I would have to be in hospital for another 3 months, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to get out of there. So, luckily, my mum found this book, and she just typed in on Google, "Is tofu good for you?" Because we were in Japan. So she was like, "Well, there's no harm in seeing if tofu is good for you." And because I started to get a little bit better, they started feeding me again. But we found this book online that was Self-Healing Colitis and Crohn's by David Klein, and it came to hospital, the hard copy. We ordered it from Amazon, and we started reading it before they put me on solid food. And it was saying, juice, lots of celery juice, lots of smoothies and steamed vegetables, blended up, make soups. And we started doing that in hospital. My mum went and bought a juicer and a blender, and she started blending me bananas. And 1 week of that, this is going to sound funny, but it will sound miraculous because it was. So I started feeling better every day after these smoothies and this juice. It's almost like rejuvenating my body.
Yes.
And nourishing my body. And I didn't actually need the medicine anymore. So I actually stopped taking the medicine in the hospital because I started reading the side effects. And I was like, this is actually worse than the condition that I had, the side effects. So I stopped taking the medicine without telling the doctors because I just didn't want to take them. I read this book. I had no other option, right? I was desperate.
Yes.
And when you're desperate, you'll do anything, right?
Yeah.
So we started doing this. We started taking the advice from this book. So after 1 week, because I started feeling better, the doctor's like, okay, we need to do another colonoscopy. I didn't want to do it, obviously, because I hated it. It was the most horrible thing you can do, like taking the prep.
So invasive.
Yeah, the prep as well is just it's horrible. So he did the colonoscopy. And I obviously was feeling better. I was able to walk. I was able to go outside, and I walked past the nurse's office, the doctor's office, and they were like, how is he standing? That's how crazy it was.
Going from not being able to lift your arm up
Exactly.
to... Yeah.
And that was because of the food. And obviously we sat down with a dietitian before we started this diet, and she was like, oh, where are you going to get your protein from? Where are you going to get this from? Where are you going to get calcium from? You need butter, so we're going to put some butter next to your food. And luckily, the hospital agreed to make me steamed vegetables. I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Because normally that wouldn't happen. They wouldn't customise.
No.
But because I'd known them for so long, I'd been in hospital, I knew the nurses, and I think I was a gaijin, which is a foreigner. They sort of said, okay, you can have this special treatment. And I don't know how much it costs. Probably cost a shitload of money to do this customisation. And I also had a private room, so...
Yeah. Your parents were paying for all this?
Well, no. Luckily, I got out of that as well, because I told the doctor, I was like, you've created this situation.
Yeah,
and what's going to happen with the fees and stuff like that. And so I told the doctor, like, well, I can't pay all this, whatever it's going to cost. And obviously I had a job there, so they paid, I had insurance. So they paid some of it, but obviously the bill was a lot. I told the doctor, I was like, I'm not paying this. And so he's like, okay, I'll cover it.
Yeah.
I'll do something. I think he wrote a letter to the government.
Yes.
And the government paid for my situation.
So
anyway, so I stopped the medication, did the colonoscopy, came back with clear results. All the ulcers had gone. The inflammation was completely gone. I think there was still a little bit left in my rectum. And the doctor was absolutely shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes.
Yeah.
That for just a week, I'd started eating smoothies. I'd started eating, just soups and steamed veggies and juices. And that got me to the position of having a clear colon. And they discharged me.
You were gaining weight as well at this point?
Yeah, a little bit of weight. Not heaps,
Yeah.
but enough to be able to walk and talk.
So
and
once
do
you were
stuff.
discharged, you went back to New Zealand, or?
Well, this is the funny thing. So again, the doctor said, finally the medication's working. Yeah, and I wasn't taking it because the nurse would come up to me in my room, and obviously you know how they make sure that you take it. And because I was very friendly with them, I said, I'm sleeping now, I'll take it later.
Yeah.
So I'd flush it down the toilet because I'm not taking this stuff. Especially after reading up about, how poison medicine is just poison,
Yes.
and all sorts of other things that's wrong with pharmaceutical industry. That was my lifeline, really. Like that was my, miracle moment where we were able to do this and get out of that prison, basically. I had a lot of people praying for me back in India as well, and that was really,
That's lovely.
amazing. And I thank those people for doing that. And this, of course, happened 12 years ago, so 2012. When
You left Japan straight after?
Yeah, so because I lived in New Zealand before I went to Japan, we obviously went back to New Zealand. But the funny thing was the doctor gave me a suitcase full of medication to take with me. Because he's like, this drug isn't used in New Zealand, so I'm going to give you all this medication to take with you. I was like, okay, just give it to me, and we took it. And as soon as we got home, we dumped it in the bin, because obviously I wasn't going to take it. It didn't end there, though. Obviously, making a lifestyle change is not easy. I went through a lot to try and get out of that mental victim state of mind, because I felt sorry for myself. I said, why me? Why did I get this condition? Nobody else got it. I can't eat what I want, all that kind of stuff. And I started to get a sick mind. Because my body was actually doing really well, but then I started going back to eating the foods that caused the problem.
Yeah.
I started going back to eating meat and dairy and eggs and all sorts of other things. And that made me realize why I was sick.
Yes.
For eating those foods. I started to get symptoms again. So after a month, I started to get symptoms again. And that's when I told myself, no, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to yourself? You understand health now. And I started reading a lot. And my brother actually got involved. He started reading 80-10-10. He found 80-10-10 and he was like, Shamiz, you've got to see this. This is incredible. And so that's when I started to realize that this is not just about, diet. This is about longevity.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle that we need to sort of create for ourselves. And I went through suicidal depression because I was out of it. I wanted to eat all sorts of things, and I still didn't fully understand this path. And it was only until my symptoms kept getting worse and worse and worse where I had to really focus on my mind, and I had to really tell myself, no, let this go, let this addiction, let this temptation go. And so I had to really work on myself. I had to understand myself a lot more, rebuild again mentally, to give me that mental strength, or mental fitness as some people say, which is a really good term. And just build. And once I started to learn more about the diet and lifestyle and 80-10-10, I started applying that more and more, and was able to then eat more fruit and stuff and get into that. So more smoothies, more bananas, and all that goodness.
You switched to eating entirely raw food?
So there was a point where I kind of had to do that because my body just didn't want any cooked food or any vegetables per se. Just because fruit was so soothing for my body and my colon that I needed it.
Yeah.
I think it was a week where I had to just be fully raw, just eat fruit as much as I could, and to rejuvenate even more. I do eat cooked food. I'm not fully raw, but I'm heading that direction. I'm very much high raw, and it's got me to this point, and I will get there. I just think it's a stepping stone, right? So because I do this for a living now and I help other people, just getting someone's foot in the door is what I'm trying to do with the people out there that are suffering. And so just going back, obviously that's how High Carb Health started. So because of my journey and my healing, I decided to start telling people about this stuff. So we started a YouTube channel in 2014. talking about my experience. You can check it out if you want.
So what's the name of the
High
YouTube
Carb
channel?
Health. High Carb Health is the
Yeah.
YouTube channel. Yeah. So someone contacted us from Europe, from Croatia, and said, "How did you guys do this? I want to know more because I'm suffering from osteoarthritis." And that's when we thought, "Hey, hang on a second. Let's try and coach people."
Yeah.
So we started coaching people for free,
Yeah.
and we helped this guy out from the teachings of David Klein. We started actually helping people and teaching them about what I went through and how there's so many aspects to life that you've got to try and figure out for yourself in order for you to heal. We started coaching, and then we started studying. So we went to the University of Natural Health, did a course there, and then we did David Klein's course, the Health and Life Academy. So he mentored us and taught us a lot about how the gut works, and specifically for ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, what to eat. And yeah, we started coaching, and it was amazing.
When you say we, you're talking about yourself and your brother?
Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
my brother came on board because he went fully raw for I think 6 months because he
Wow.
realised
Yeah.
like why aren't we told this information?
Yeah.
So he lost like, I don't know, probably 20 kilos actually as well, and he got
But
down
not an
to-
unhealthy...
not an unhealthy weight loss. No,
No.
it was a good healthy weight
Yeah.
loss. And yeah, he found so many benefits. He didn't have gut issues specifically, but he had other issues. He was very proud of eating like a you know, was it some kind of steak. He was really proud of that. He could eat that, and from going from that. So it was actually funny because his journey, he tried to find problems with this lifestyle so that he could go back to eating meat, but he couldn't find any problems with it.
Yeah.
He tried to dissect the fruit diet and tried to think, what's one way of me, or how can I find a sort of a way that I can go back to eating meat?
Yes.
Because he loved meat so much, and he couldn't find any negative effects of a fruitarian diet or a fruit-heavy diet.
So he's vegan now?
So he's 100% vegan, yeah.
Good on
So my mum's vegan, my dad's vegan, my brother's vegan,
Yeah,
my
fantastic.
brother's family's vegan.
Yeah.
So there's been a huge, almost like a catalyst for change for our family, and
Yeah.
it's been amazing to create that
Yeah.
scenario at home. So my parents both eat high raw as well. Dad's 68 and mum's 66.
Yeah.
Just turned 66. So my vegan anniversary is actually on August 9th, so it was this month.
Oh, it was only
So
a few days
that's-
ago, yeah?
Yeah, so that was this 12 years vegan.
Yeah.
And vegan for the animals too.
Yeah.
I realised the whole ethics side of things with the diet.
Yeah.
You know,
And
just
you're doing
works.
street activism now as well?
Yep.
Vegan,
So I've been
yeah.
doing activism since 2015. I think was my first AV.
Yep.
And it just works so well with everything. You know,
It's great.
you're not harming.
No.
Well, the least amount of harm that you can do is on a fruit diet.
Yeah.
So
So what do you think about eating just fruit?
I think it's really
Yeah.
good. I've experienced it myself. I do eat a lot, and I eventually will get there. I think, like I said before, I'm trying to get other people to try and just eat fruit. You know,
Yes.
first thing in the morning. If people can start doing that, that's a huge step forward.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is the goal. And eventually, you know, I'll also get there. We live in paradise at the moment, so
Yeah.
being here, there's so much fruit available, and
Yeah.
I think there are so many countries that can grow so much more fruit, but we just don't do it because the government and
Yeah.
people are not, they don't know the benefits of fruit.
You said you moved into the tropics 2.5 years ago?
Yes, so I'm originally from New Zealand, so for 10 years I was trying to do my best and eat as much fruit as I can in New Zealand. It's not a bad place to eat fruit, like there's some really good fruits, like the kiwi fruit's really good there, the persimmons are really good there, the feijoas are really good there,
Yeah.
the melons are pretty good,
Yeah.
the rock melon,
Probably
the
better than
cancellite.
here, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a bit colder, the climate,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
rock melons specifically like that.
Yeah, do better.
Yeah,
And
but
did-
there are a couple of months where it's just like imported oranges from the US. All bananas are imported in New Zealand,
Yeah.
and dates. So
Yeah.
there's only like 3 fruits that you can eat really that is fresh, otherwise
Yeah.
it's frozen. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to move.
And you came here by yourself, or you brought your family with you, your brother
So,
and mum and dad? Or
I came here to Cairns. We actually went on a holiday. We came for a holiday in 2018,
Yeah.
and we didn't actually like it too much because we went up to Port.
Uh-huh.
And Port Douglas doesn't have
Douglas,
too much.
yeah.
And we missed out on Rusties because we didn't know about the market at that
Ah.
time. So we were like, yeah, cancer's okay. Like, and it was only because there was a client here that I sort of reflected back after COVID, all that nonsense. That's when I realised that this place is really nice
Yeah.
because obviously because of what was going on at the time, it was a bit more lax here with the lockdowns and stuff. But yeah, then I decided to move because I wanted to stay in a place where there was more warmth as well, warmer country, and luckily I don't need a visa to come here because I'm a Kiwi. So that was another, because I used to go to Thailand and live in Thailand for some of the year, and obviously you need visa, and you can't have a house and own car and stuff like that. Well, you can, but it's just a little bit harder, and it's expensive. Sorry.
You were teaching English in Thailand too?
No, I was coaching in Thailand. I was teaching English in Japan at the start of this whole journey. I did a Bachelor of Design at university, so nothing to do with nutrition, but see how life changes and
you never know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and helping people is the one thing that I love to do, and we've been doing this for like 10 years now, and we love it. We've helped thousands of people. If someone has colitis, or if you know someone that has colitis, get in touch, because there is a way out. People don't really understand what this disease is, because when you don't have it, you don't really know, and it's quite a taboo subject, right? Like no one talks about it.
Your YouTube channel is still active, still going?
It is absolutely active, yes.
So you're still creating videos, you and your brother?
Still creating content, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We just had a client actually do a colonoscopy, and he's been on a high fruit diet, not 100% fruit, but high fruit. He lives in the UK, so it's a little bit hard for him to do that.
Yeah.
But in, I think, July, he recently did a colonoscopy, and no evidence of IBD at all, no evidence of ulcerative colitis after 7 years of doing this diet. So 7 years after working with us, his colon was completely free of disease, free of inflammation, and the doctors were shocked. Because the NHS in the UK, they monitor, their patients, and he had this condition for a while.
Yeah.
And for that outcome to happen without medicine, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. But they didn't ask him anything. They didn't say, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
Typical, they don't care.
So it was kind of sad, but great for him and great results for people that are.
But you say it took 7 years. I mean, how long do you think it took for your complete recovery?
So he recovered in about 6 months, and for 7 years he's been doing the high fruit diet, and these are the results that he got after.
So 6 months he was.
He got better after 6 months. Yeah, so he was on medicine, and he had inflammation in his gut, and after 6 months on doing this, he got the result. And then now 7 years later, he wanted to do a colonoscopy because the doctors again they said, "Oh, you are hitting a certain age, so we want to make sure that you don't have colon cancer, right?" It's a screening process. So he's like, "All right, might as well just do it." And now he's like, "I'm never going to do one again."
Yeah, why? It's just an intrusive piece of...
Yeah, it is. It's just, there's no need for it. And as long as we're eating a natural biological diet, you got nothing to worry about.
So how many people do you reckon you coach a day or a week?
Well, our program works in 3, 6, 1 year. So, it could be that I have like 50 clients a month, and I work with them every week.
Yep.
And I coach them every week. So teaching them like how to live this lifestyle and how to focus on getting more fruit in, and just teaching them about what I've learnt, which is natural hygiene and terrain theory. So that's the basic understanding of what we need to be doing. And it makes sense, doesn't it? So
educating people about terrain theory is very important.
Well, it's the message that we need to pass down, don't we? Like we
absolutely
need to continue that, because otherwise we're going to be sick. So when people learn about terrain theory, I mean, it's the self-healing body, right, mechanism. So that's what happened to me. I was sick, nearly dead, and now I'm healthy and fit, and I've done a half Ironman. So for this idea about where you're going to get your protein from and things like that, like it's all just completely debunked, because I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today.
Exactly.
I've done marathon. I've done 40 plus half marathons, and I'm currently training for an ultra marathon.
Wow.
So it's like, the benefits of this lifestyle are amazing, and you just got to try it. If you don't try it, then how are you going to know?
One final question, because I've been asked this a lot recently. People asking about or stating their opinion that humans are not all the same and that some of us have different nutritional needs to others. And I don't know what to say, but I'd just like to hear your take on
Yeah,
it.
I do get that a lot, that, oh, everyone's different. Yeah, so is everyone different? No, no one's different. We're all the same. Our organs work in the same way. I mean, my large intestine is going to digest the same as yours, and it's going to work in the same way, and that's why we can do organ transplants and things like that. It's just people live different lives, and someone might not exercise as much, or someone might eat cleaner than the other person, and their toxicity levels is what creates the symptom.
Yeah.
And that's why you're different, and or that you perceive yourself as different, because you get a different symptom than someone else. But in fact, it's actually quite funny, because everyone that I work with has exactly the same symptoms.
Yeah.
So that debunks that idea of being different anyway, because everyone that has ulcerative colitis is going to have the same symptoms. And that's what we see, because when you start eating cleaner, when you eat fruit, you're going to detoxify, and that's when you can find that you have increased symptoms. You always get worse before you get better.
Yeah.
When you're coming from an unhealthy lifestyle, you're going to need to,
Absolutely.
detoxify and clean up the system.
And what do you say to these people that are on this fad now, this carnivore cult that they're in? They say that they've been vegan and they got really, really sick and they went to the carnivore diet and they're now good, so they think that their body is different and they can't succeed.
Show me the proof, for one, and show me 10 years. Give me 10 years, and then we'll talk. But you're not going to be able to sustain it. Yeah. And this is the problem. When people say all this stuff, they just want attention and they want money. Okay, it's basically down to that. So don't believe everything you see online. Same with me. Okay, if you follow me for as long as you need to understand what I'm trying to say to you. Because I'm not here to sell you anything. Right? I'm gonna teach you about how to live a healthy lifestyle. There's no supplementations on what I do, what I promote, except for maybe B12. Whereas the carnivore side, you've got a whole lot of things that they do and they eat and they, there's so much. They hide a lot of things too, by the way. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but there was a carnivore person that came out and said in their own community that she was not being told the truth. So like, they'd eat something on the camera and go, oh yeah, this is what I eat in a day, and then go and eat something else off camera.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like, well, hang on a second, if you're promoting this way of life, you're not actually doing it.
Yeah.
And so this is where you've got to be transparent. You've got to also follow people that are transparent, and that's what I do.
Yep.
I'm showing everyone exactly what I eat every single day, and you be the judge,
Yeah.
And if you want that lifestyle of being able to exercise and go into nature and not have to worry about toilet visits, and plus also the carnivore diet is very much a symptom relief diet. Like, it's going to clog you up. It's going to suppress your symptoms, just like medication does. And just be logical with your teeth. We've got molars to chew, and
I know some people have said, well, look at me, I haven't got many teeth, but I'll talk about that another time. There is a reason for things, and I'm not ashamed at all to talk about it. In fact, I've explained it in detail in my autobiography. So just because I failed with my dental health doesn't mean to say that you have to fail.
I also had that issue as well, where I wasn't taking care of my teeth. And now that I have been, my teeth are fantastic on a high sugar diet, a high fruit diet. So you just need, it's dental care, and if you do it properly, then you're not going to see the problems that I guess many people face without, doing things properly. So it's with anything though. If you don't, do it properly, you're going to experience like a lack.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Shamis. It's been a pleasure having a little chat here.
Oh, you're welcome. It was nice to meet you,
Me too.
happy to be on here and spread the message of health and joy and happiness and fruit.
Yeah, and check his channel out, High Carb Health, and see you next week. Bye.